It's stored on a disk drive that flips 10%. Flip. Assuming that f is 0.1, assuming that each bit is independently either flipped or not flipped, roughly, how many bits are flipped? How many bits are flipped? And I'd like you to discuss this with your neighbour. Answer in the form, roughly this many, plus or minus this many. Does everyone understand the question? Okay, please talk to your neighbour, and then we'll see what numbers go in here. Number of flipped bits. Anyone? 1,000 plus or minus? How many? Debating. Okay. Anyone else say 1,000 plus or minus? Plus or minus 100? Plus or minus 900? $30? Okay, we've got a few answers there. Who wants to give a reason for their answer? So anyone who gave an answer, a reason? $900 sounds quite a lot. Who said 900? Yeah, why plus or minus 900? The data book, excellent, good. Because you don't need to understand things if you've got the data book. And what did the data book say? Okay, and you're looking at the variance of what? Binomial distribution. Grand. Yep. Very good. So you look up the binomial distribution, and it's got a mean of n times p, where p here is f. And it's got a variance of npq, where q is the other thing. It's 1 minus f. All right. So you can look that up, and then you need to know what variance means and how that relates to, well, roughly plus or minus 1,000 plus or minus what. So this is the mean. It's 10,000 times 0.1, which is 1,000. The variance is 900. But what does that mean? What's the meaning of the variance? It's the square of the standard deviation. Okay? So this is the square of the standard deviation. Take the square root of it, which is 30, and that tells you roughly how many bits either way it'll be flipped. Okay? Now, the binomial distribution is pretty much the only bit of mathematics you need to know for this course, and I do encourage you to review the binomial distribution and get good at working with it, because we are going to use it over and over.
Okay.
StatQuest is if you don't think so. StatQuest is cool. That's my opinion. If you don't think so, then your opinion is inversely correlated with mine. StatQuest. Hello, and welcome to StatQuest. Today we're going to talk about the binomial distribution and the binomial test, and they're going to be clearly explained. Usually, when people talk about the binomial distribution, they talk about flipping a coin. A coin usually has heads and at least one tail. For example, You can use the binomial distribution to find out the probability of getting 6 heads in 6 tosses. But who really cares about flipping coins? What folks really want to know is whether or not people like orange Fanta more than grape Fanta. Which flavor reigns supreme? Or are they both equally loved? To answer this question, we can ask a bunch of people which flavor they prefer. If everybody but one person said they liked orange Fanta more than grape Fanta, then it would be pretty obvious what people liked most. But what if 4 people say they like orange Fanta and 3 people say they like grape Fanta? Is that enough to be confident that most people like orange Fanta? Or could it be that people, in general, don't have a preference, and these results are just due to random chance and a small sample size? Maybe if we surveyed another 7 people, we might only get 3 people who like orange Fanta and 4 people who like grape Fanta. To get to the bottom of this mystery, we need to get a sense of what to expect if there is no preference. Then we determine if our survey results fit those expectations. If not, we can reject the idea that both Fantas are loved equally. The binomial distribution will tell us what to expect if there is no preference. To say the same thing using statistics lingo, we will use the binomial distribution, aka this nasty looking thing, to model what to expect when there is no preference. Then we'll see how well this model fits the data. If the model is a poor fit, we will reject the idea that both flavors are loved equally. So let's start with a super simple example and assume that I asked 3 people if they liked orange Fanta more than grape Fanta. The first person we asked said they preferred orange Fanta. The second person we asked also said they preferred orange Fanta. And the third person we asked said they preferred grape Fanta. If people really didn't prefer one flavor over the other, then we will assume that there's a 50% chance they will pick orange and a 50% chance they will pick grape. We can then calculate the probability of the first 2 people randomly choosing orange and the third person randomly choosing grape. Assuming that there is no real preference, the probability of the first person preferring orange Fanta is 0.5. And the probability of the first 2 people preferring orange Fanta is 0.5 times 0.5, which equals 0.25. Preference, and these results are just due to random chance and a small sample size. Maybe if we surveyed another 7 people, we might only get 3 people who like orange Fanta and 4 people who like grape Fanta. To get to the bottom of this mystery, we need to get a sense of what to expect if there is no preference.
Okay, so picking up exactly where we left off last time, we were starting on the binomial and the Bernoulli distribution and random variables in general, right? So I want to kind of review the binomial a little bit and go further than we got last time with the binomial, and then also in parallel with that, be discussing more about random variables. Okay, so here's the binomial, just to remind you. Binomial distribution is one of the most famous distributions, most useful ones in all of statistics, and write it as distribution. We write it as bin of NP for shorthand. It has 2 parameters, N and P. That's what they're usually called. I mean, we call them whatever you want, but the default choice would be to call them N and P. So those are called parameters. If you change the parameters, then you have a different distribution. It's a binomial distribution. So strictly speaking, there is not just one binomial distribution. There's a whole family of binomial distributions, because you can let n is any positive integer, p is any real number between 0 and 1. So for any n and p, then we have a binomial NP distribution. Well, what is that distribution? Well, there's actually three important ways to think of it, and all three are important as far as we're concerned in this course. So the first one, I think, is the most important because that's the story, and the story tells us why do we care about the binomial. If we didn't have a useful story for it, then there's no point in looking at it. So the story, as I mentioned last time, so just reviewing last time, we have n independent trials. Each trial results in success or failure, and this is just the distribution of the number of successes. Okay, and in notation we would write x. This notation means that x is a random variable that has this distribution. What does it mean to say that it has this distribution? Well, it means that we can interpret it in any of the three ways that we're about to do. So the first one I just mentioned, it's think of x as the number of successes in n independent. That's a crucial fact, is that the trials are independent. Bernoulli P trials. And Bernoulli P trials is what I just said. Each one is success or failure, where P is the probability of success. So that's the probability of success. So you can define success however you want. You can define success to be failure and failure to be success if you want. Everything will still work. The key is that every trial results in success or failure, but not both. But other than that, so we've been talking a lot about conditional probability, right? And we'll keep talking about conditional stuff for the entire semester. So the plan for today is do one more famous important example of thinking conditionally, and then we'll start on random variables. And if I had to name the two most important ideas for the entire semester, I think it would be conditioning and random variables and their distributions. And so I said before, conditioning is the soul of statistics. And I like to watch the Colbert Report. And my favorite thing on that show, he hasn't done it as much as I'd like, but my favorite thing on the Colbert Report is when he asked the guest, like, explain quantum mechanics in 5 words or less, or explain how the mind works. He asked Steven Pinker, how does the mind work, 5 words or less. So sometimes I try to think, what's Stat 110 about in 5 words or less, 5 words or fewer. Unfortunately, conditioning is the soul of statistics. I think has one too many words, conditioning. But I thought of a clever way around that. I just put a colon, conditioning, the soul of statistics. That would be one answer. What is this course about? We're going to be conditioning the entire time on different things. The second thing, these are my two answers to that question. So that's actually 10 words, but I can't decide between them. But it's okay because I'm not actually on the show. The other one is random variables and their distributions. So that's what we're going to start on in the second half today. And then we'll be continuing doing random variables for the next few lectures, but also be using them for the entire semester. And okay, I have had one Stat 110 alumni has been on the Colbert Report. I think only one so far, so hopefully some of you or me can be on the show someday too. But at least I've had one. Now, all right, so that's 5 words, right? Okay, good. All right, so we'll get to random variables a little bit later. I'll tell you what all that means. Right now, we're still thinking about conditioning and illustrate and kind of another, more about how to think about what should you condition on, how can you use it to solve problems. So here's another very, very famous, useful probability problem that's known as the gambler's ruin problem. So here's the problem. There are two gamblers. Let's just call them Gambler A and Gambler B. And they're just basically betting dollars back and forth. So they're playing a sequence of the same game over and over and over again. Okay, so two gamblers, and then they keep, successively betting $1 each time. So one of them wins $1, one of them loses $1, wins $1. Keep trading dollars back and forth. The game ends if one of the two gamblers is ever bankrupt, right? And then that's the end. But how do we know whether the game will ever end? Maybe it'll just oscillate forever. We don't know that. Okay, but if one player goes bankrupt, which ruin means bankruptcy in this problem. So if one of the two gamblers goes bankrupt, then the game is over, and the other player has all the money and has won the game. Okay, so there's only two players exchanging dollars back and forth. Okay, so that's the setup. So two gamblers, A and B. The sequence, I'll call them to distinguish the word game as the entire process, and each round is one individual bet. Sequence of rounds where they bet $1 each time. Each round is independent. They're just a sequence of independent bets, $1 each time. And let's assume that P equals the probability that A wins a certain round. So for any particular round, the probability is P that A wins, and it's 1 minus P that B wins. And often in this class, we'll abbreviate 1 minus P to Q. So Q is the probability that B wins a round. P is the probability that A wins a round. Then they keep repeating that, either forever or until one of them goes broke. Okay, so that's the setup. And the problem is to find what's the probability that A wins the entire game. That is, that A wins all the money and B goes bankrupt. Okay? So that's the problem. So find the probability that A wins the entire game. So B is ruined, we would say. Or we could have game is that's the set. Now assume that just go to listen and look at their rapport. I think only one so far, so hopefully some of you or me can be on the show someday too. But at least I've had one. Now, all right, so that's 5 words, right? Okay, good. All right, so we'll get to random variables a little bit later. I'll tell you what all that means. Right now, we're still thinking about conditioning, and I want to illustrate kind of another, more about how to think about what should you condition on, how can you use it to solve problems. So here's another very, very famous, useful probability problem that's known as the gambler's
What? Why? Why it stopped? Why did it just stop all of a sudden? What? Oh, there's no... Okay. 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 Right, there's no loading thing. Okay, right, that's why.
So here's the problem. There are two gamblers. Let's just call them Gambler A and Gambler B, and they're just basically betting dollars back and forth. So they're playing a sequence of the same game over and over and over again. Okay, so two gamblers, and then they keep, successively betting $1 each time. So one of them wins $1, one of them loses $1, wins $1. Keep trading back and forth. The game ends if one of the two gamblers is at the bank, right? And then that's the end. But how do we know whether the game will maybe it'll just oscillate forever? We don't yet know that. Okay, but if one player goes bankrupt, which ruin means bankruptcy in this problem. So if one of the two gamblers goes bankrupt, then the game is over, and the other player has all the money and has won the game. Okay, so there's only two players exchanging dollars back and forth. Okay, so that's the setup. So two gamblers, A and B, with the sequence. I'll call them to distinguish. I'm thinking of the word game as the entire process, and each round is one individual bet. Sequence of rounds where they bet $1 each time. Each round is independent. They're just a sequence of independent bets, $1 each time. And let's assume that P equals the probability I'll call them who goes bankrupt, then the game is over, and the other player. But not so variables for the next few lectures, but also we'll be using them for the entire semester. And okay, I have had one Stat 110 alumni has been on the Colbert Report. I think only one so far. So hopefully some of you or me can be on the show someday too. But at least I've had one. Now, all right, so that's 5 words, right? Okay, good. All right, so we'll get to random variables a little bit later. I'll tell you what all that means. Right now, we're still thinking about conditioning, and I want to illustrate kind of another, more about how to think about what should you condition on, how can you use it to solve problems. So here's another very, very famous, useful probability problem that's known as the gambler's ruin problem. So here's the problem. There are two gamblers. Let's just call them Gambler A and Gambler B. And they're just basically betting dollars back and forth. So they're playing a sequence of the same game over and over and over again. Okay, so two gamblers, and then they keep, successively betting $1 each time. So one of them wins $1, one of them loses $1, wins $1. Keep trading dollars back and forth. The game ends if one of the two gamblers is ever bankrupt, right? And then that's the end. But how do we know whether the game will ever end? Maybe it'll just oscillate forever. We don't yet know that. Okay, but if the game wins of the same game over and over and over again. So here's the problem. There are two gamblers. Let's just call them Gambler A and Gambler B. And they're just basically betting dollars back and forth. So they're playing a sequence of the same game over and over and over again. Okay, so two gamblers, and then they keep, successively betting $1 each time. So one of them wins $1, one of them loses $1, wins $1. Keep trading dollars back and forth. The game ends if one betting dollars back and forth. So they're playing a sequence of the same game over and over and over again. Okay, so two gamblers, and then they keep, successively betting $1 each time. So one of them wins $1, one of them loses $1, wins $1. Keep trading dollars back and forth. The game ends if one of the two gamblers is ever bankrupt, right? And then that's the end. But how do we know whether the game will ever end? Maybe it'll just oscillate forever. We don't yet know that. Okay, but if one player goes bankrupt, which ruin means bankruptcy in this problem. So if one of the two gamblers goes bankrupt, then the game is over, and the other player has all the money and has won the game. Okay, so there's only two players exchanging dollars back and forth. Okay, so that's the setup. So two gamblers, A and B, with the sequence.
I woke up this morning and I saw this tweet. Every word in that message is a pickaxe chipping away at my soul. And then I saw this tweet, the one that it's talking about, and I was like, wait a minute, I actually know this guy, Frying Pan. It looks like, he's making an announcement tweet about getting into Y Combinator. And the response tweet from the same person was, I would open source his knee ligaments, to be honest. So let's get some context here. But basically, Pan made like an announcement post. He got into Y Combinator. They're working on an AI code editor. Everybody has heard of Copilot by now. It's technically not an editor. It's like an extension for VS Code, and it's available on some other IDEs as well. So I guess, my question is, what even is an AI code editor at this point? Because the 99% of the value is just the LLM underneath all of it, right? Whether it's Claude or GPT. But anyways, from a business perspective, it's very interesting to do that. They've actually been working on this for several months now. Pair AI, the one that we're kind of looking at today by Pan, is similar to Cursor in that it's a fork of VS Code. The difference between Cursor and Pair is that this one is open source. They're both paid in that if you want like the best functionality of it, you have to pay like a monthly subscription, similar to Copilot as well. The reason people are mad about Pair AI is that this is actually not a fork of VS Code. It's actually a fork of work. So that's kind of the problem here. People think that this is where most of the value was created in the original fork. And so this fork here, Pair AI, is just using open source to make money without necessarily giving back. If you just kind of go through Twitter, it's not hard to find people that are mad about this. You probably have this as your Hinge profile pic, huh? Just a little bit of the sentiment. So I think some of the criticism, as usual, is not warranted. The accusation here is that Pair AI, which is open source, but it's also a product. So, it's open source in the same way that MongoDB is open source, but most people who use MongoDB pay the servers, usually directly to MongoDB, which, in general, it's a good strategy to create value and to also capture some of that value. Because what I'm more concerned about than like this tech stuff or he said, she said, is kind of the business strategy. Because then money, you can be mad on Twitter, but that's not really what matters. So Pair AI, it's an open source fork of VS Code, but it's not a direct fork of VS Code. It's actually a fork of Continue. So Continue is here, and it's actually pretty popular as well. So it's not like nobody's heard of this, but this is a fork of VS Code. I'm not an expert on either of these. I barely just started using Cursor, believe it or not. But I don't think they stole anything. I think they forked something. I think some people are mad that you can just take a product, fork it, and then get into something like Y Combinator. So some people are saying, well, the value of Y Combinator is diminishing because of that. From my very humble perspective, was there any value to begin with? I think 5-10 years ago, everybody wanted to work at FANG, get into Google. Now everybody kind of wants to get into like startups and be a founder. Founder is kind of the new prestigious word. Everybody wants to be a founder. It's that simple. I think Pair AI, I guess the whole concept of an AI coding assistant is interesting. It's definitely valuable. Now, if coding is going away in 5 to 10 years, if nobody's going to be writing code, well, then why are people building AI coding assistants? Why are people investing in coding assistants? Why is Y Combinator still investing in companies that have nothing to do with AI? YC is still investing in email providers, literally email providers. Some people think very old, established technology. And the answer, of course, is nobody knows what's going to happen. And of course, I don't really know what's going to happen either. But with all like this AI stuff going on, like there's so much noise. It's like if you follow this day by day, every single day, there's a completely different thing going on. Everybody's using GPT-4. Well, now actually Claude is the thing. If you're not using Claude to code, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, well, now everybody's using Cursor. Cursor's the thing. Okay, well, now the new GPT came out. Okay, well, now there's Pair AI. And so if you try to follow every single thing, you're going to go crazy. I mean, there's just so much crap going on. The approach that I take, just because I need to try to preserve my sanity, anytime I see something on Twitter, I just ignore it. Like one data point is not enough. But if I hear about something for a couple of weeks, like, okay, I might have a 2-week delay before I actually start to notice. But if people are still talking about something after 2 weeks, be something to it, whether it's GPT or like these AI coding assistants. And by the way, from what I've used of Cursor, it is significantly better than Copilot. So quite honestly, I do wish I had tried it sooner. I wish I had tried it a few weeks ago. But those few weeks really didn't cost me much. And I probably skipped using a lot of really garbage technology, and I can live with that. That's the trade-off I'm willing to make. The whole topic of what's fair and what's not. So there's this tweet, and my friend is probably not doing himself any favors with this one. You legally relicensed Pair to an enterprise, non-open source license called Pair Enterprise Edition, even though Continue is Apache 2.0. Your project violates multiple terms in the Apache license. You should sue these clowns. And so the response, dog, I chat GPT'd the license. Anyone is free to use our app for free for whatever they want. If there's a problem with the license, just let me know, I'll change it. we busy building right now can't be bothered with legal. So let's try to give the benefit of the doubt where possible, because it's very easy to take something like this out of context. Well, technically it's not out of context, but it's easy to take one thing and just kind of ignore everything around it and just say, okay, well, this is dumb. We could spend a lot of time reading some of these replies, but before you even get too far into that, just hover over like their profile once in a while and you'll realize that you're just hanging out with a bunch of bots. Okay, so if you're still using Twitter today, you might want to reconsider, because it's just a bunch of bots at this point. Okay, shortly after, it looks like Pan did take care of the legal stuff. Probably a lawyer helped him with that. Probably somebody from YC. For what it's worth, I think when companies invest, it's just a probability that there will kind of be explosive growth. So anytime YC invests in a company, at minimum, they're expecting like 100x on their investment. And so when you think about it from that perspective, kind of investing in a bunch of companies that have a 1% chance of success of living up to that 100x investment, your odds are not that bad. And so if people are looking at Pair AI and thinking, well, shit, what is YC doing? Why would they possibly invest in something like that? The answer is pretty obvious. AI code editors are pretty hyped right now. It's impossible to know whether that's just hype that's going to evaporate shortly or if that's actually something. When you're an investor, especially in the VC world, you don't really have the luxury of waiting it out the same way I do or you do. You kind of have to make like quick decisions, even make decisions that you think are probably going to turn out to be wrong, but you kind of have to kind of get like a small just slice of that. So I think given that, it's pretty easy to find a bunch of people on Twitter who are wrong. But for me, this kind of takes me back to open source, because this is not new, guys. I'm not a super old person either, kind of in my 20s, but I vaguely remember that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, didn't they do the same thing? They're not the first people that came up with the graphical user interface or the mouse or whatever. I'm pretty sure there was a company, I believe it's this one, that had a very, very significant impact on the operating systems we use today. And I think like the moral of the story is that creating value is actually relatively easy. Just create like open source software or like a million other things. Creating things that are valuable isn't always super difficult. But when it comes to the software world, capturing some of that value, capturing the money is the difficult part. When you think of something like Linux or Git, like open source software, and you think about the value of that software, like the impact that it's having, Linux is having a tremendous amount of impact. You can't really quantify it, but if you say that Microsoft is like $1 trillion company, Linux could be comparable, even though Microsoft isn't just a system, but it's all about money. Y Combinator are investing so that they can make money, not to create good software or whatever, or to impact the world. And I think the world is better today in that, like, if you want to create a new database or something like that, the business model is pretty obvious. You can create open source software, give it away to people, but nowadays, if you're giving it away to people, you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're trying to build up like a user base, especially when it comes to software like databases, front end frameworks, whatnot. You want to have the user base. You don't just want a small number of paying customers. You want to create a culture. You want to hire a bunch of dev relations people. You want to hire influencers, put some sponsorships in there so you can create this ecosystem. So, I mean, overall, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking open source software, trying to create a business model out of it. I think from a business perspective, it's probably going to be very difficult. And if I had to flip a coin, I'd say probably they're not going to be super successful. But the risk isn't really them anymore. When they did not have any funding, it's definitely high risk because you're kind of spending your own money. But now that they actually do have investors, I think they're not like in a bad position. They're probably not making as much money as they were before. But nowadays, people just want to enjoy what they do, and I don't really blame them. I'm kind of sitting here doing the same thing, and I better get back to it. So I'm going to go write some code now. Maybe you guys should think about doing the same thing. people just want to enjoy what they do, and I don't really blame them. I'm kind of sitting here doing the same thing. I better get back to it, so I'm going to go write some code now. Maybe you guys should think about doing the same thing.
Why don't we talk about our friend in the industry?
Ah, yes.
The big controversy this week, the one, the only, MKBHD released a wallpaper app for your phone, okay, iOS and Android, and a significant portion of the community was quite, let's say, put out
Yeah.
about this situation.
Their rabbles were roused.
This is one of those things where, honestly speaking, guys, I'm not going to comment on the business decisions of, a fellow creator. But what I will say is it was very clear that the community was not happy about the option for a $1 a year premium subscription that effectively paywalled the maximum quality of these wallpapers for people who were not interested in that. There was also some upset around some of the requested permissions of the particular app. There was some commentary and some observations around the quality of the app. I believe that it turned out, is it true that it was functionally just linking to a shared Google Drive?
It was a Firebase download server, but there was no authentication on it, so anyone could just download it. And people set up bots to scrape it because they were talking about how they were going to do I don't remember exactly the details, so I'm sorry, but some type of part of the idea of the subscription is that they were going to drop new artist packs and things like that, so you could get new wallpapers all the time. But bots that were scraping it, which, because they never signed any type of agreement or anything, and they didn't technically even bypass anything.
It's technically legal then.
Yeah.
There was also some upset about the revenue share, which from my understanding was 50-50. And then even going into the hours leading up to this show, there has been some upset that Marquez himself didn't really properly address the community's concerns on the latest Waveform podcast. So that's kind of the summary that that I think that's probably the best summary I can give you guys of why people are upset. I'll give sort of a short devil's advocate argument here. At least they're not NFTs.
Yeah, honestly, they did give you just a straight up download of the.
I think the word scam is one that gets overused a lot these days. I saw a lot of people describe the wallpaper app as a scam. What it is,
Not a scam.
What it is for a lot of people, probably not a great value. What it isn't is a scam.
It communicates pretty clearly what you're going to get
And what you're going to give up.
Yeah.
And if that's a value proposition that is acceptable to you,
Then it's not.
then you are more than welcome to pay it. And if that is not a value proposition, then you are more than welcome to not pay it. That is not a scam. A scam is representing something as something that it isn't. A scam would be if I said, go to LTT store right now, and every order comes with free this secret skin that I have on the back of my phone, and then it
So
just
still wondering about.
and then it just didn't arrive.
Yeah.
That would be a scam.
Yeah.
It isn't a scam. Hobblestoff says, but Linus, is there a line where something is bad enough value that it becomes a scam? No. That is not what scam means. Scam means that you have been deceived. You have not been deceived. You are getting image files. You are sending money and permissions on your phone. Those things are all disclosed. Therefore, it is not a scam. It's not your thing. It's not your bag, baby. But it isn't a scam. Does that kind of make sense? No, some people don't seem to understand this.
I looked up
Okay,
scam.
so
Does it say
Vinin-
fraudulent or deceptive act or operation.
Vinin says, by the same argument, $1,000 HDMI cables are not a scam. Well, they can or they can't be. If they claim to give you better audio quality
Which
or
they
better video
essentially
quality,
always do.
then they are a scam because they don't do that. If they are just expensive and they literally just say there are $1,000 HDMI cables that make you feel a warm feeling inside for being able to afford them when other people can't, then that's not a scam. This really shouldn't surprise me that much, given how many people. I mean, I started this segment with a lot of people seem to misuse the word scam. So I really shouldn't be that confused that a lot of
They
people
know what it
don't
means.
know what it means, but that's not what scam means. Scam is fraud. Scam is lying. Nobody lied. Nobody scammed anybody. Nobody's money was removed forcefully against their will. So it's not a scam. Would I charge a $50 subscription for wallpaper images?
I was about
You
to
know
say
what?
yes.
You know what? Sure. Let's do it. New. Announcing now. Here on the show. Now available at flowplane.com is the LTT wallpaper pack. I'm going to. Can I show the CMS? Is that okay? Can I show the CMS? That's fine, right?
I think I just.
I'm going to show the CMS. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll like it. Okay. I'm showing the CMS right now. Going live for LTT. LTT supporter OG and LTT supporter and Just Text Posts. Going live only for LTT supporter plus, which is available for
Wait.
$10 a month or $50 a year.
You said earlier in the show.
No, I didn't. Oh wait. Oh yeah, no, that's right.
Scam!
No, I did the math wrong.
You almost scammed.
I did the math wrong. But nope.
You gotta do OG as well.
No, I don't.
Oh, but they're supposed to get everything.
No, they only get everything that we originally promised them. This is new. This is net new. No. All right, tell you what, fine, sure. You will get these wallpapers created. This actually looks like all Sarah's stuff. I believe this is all Sarah. Okay, there's also this.
They just kind of scrambled.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
they threw this together. They threw this together in the minutes before the show. You will be able to get all of these wallpapers. All you have to do is sign in at least our $5 a month or $50 a year tier.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Let's watch people turn this into Linus's scamming his audience. I'm excited for it.
Oh man, they did a dead pixel one.
Yeah, dog.
The dead pixel one could be used.
LTT phone wallpapers for floaties. Let's go. Woo! Look at that! Wow, what a wallpaper! Yeah, dead pixel. That's on purpose.
I was expecting these to be garbage. These
What?
are actually pretty cool.
These are actually legit.
What did you just say? What did you just
Well,
say
I thought-
about the valued member of our team?
No. I wasn't
Sarah
sure how hard you were going to meme. Like, when we were doing those sales and it's 9 p.m. and Nick Light's only there and he goes he draws a stick figure, like more orange shirts.
No, this is.
No,
Like,
this is.
I was surprised at how fast she turned all these.
These are
around.
great. Yeah, the one with the waves on it and the logo is what we use on the YouTube background as well. That's pretty damn cool.
We've got. Hold on. Wait, which ones are the desktop ones? I thought there were. Oh wait, no, they're only phones.
Yeah.
Here are some wallpapers. No reason why they're uploaded now. Thank you for that, Sammy. Okay, I thought we had to. Oh, that makes sense that they would be phone ones. That we gotta compete.
The one with the waves on it and the logo is what we use on the YouTube background. That one's pretty damn cool.
We've got. Hold on. Wait, which ones are the desktop ones? I thought there were. Oh wait, no, they're all. We got to compete head
And
to
I
head
mean,
with our
to be
competitors
clear, it's
in the
not like
industry.
we're planning on this necessarily being the thing that we do all the time.
No, it's really not.
Um,
We're just having some fun with it. So, do I think that this was the world's most brilliant tactical move? I can't say that based on the community feedback. It seems like it. Is it a scam?
no,
No.
it is factually by definition not a scam. So
Calling it a scam is just telling other people you don't understand what a scam is.
Yeah.
But I do
there's
think
maybe count yourself lucky for that.
But I do think that this is, maybe something that needs to be addressed in order to sort of rebuild goodwill with the community. And so that's probably the.
Hello, it's Conan O'Brien. We're here with. Juggernaut. Do you know what Juggernaut is?
Yes, I know what a juggernaut.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
Is it big?
I don't know.
Microphones. I'm not
Massive.
just listening. Oh, I
Massive.
got stopped at the library the other day, and the
Wait a
girl.
minute. You in the library?
Okay.
Were you looking for directions? Where's the dispensary?
Yeah.
No! I'm looking for the dispensary. I'm
Um,
sorry. I shouldn't pretend that you read, don't you?
No,
You do, right?
poorly, by the way.
You fooled everyone.
And I
Shouldn't-
went,
shouldn't act that doesn't care about books.
because so many people know about our lives. They saw my kids. They were like, "Oh, it's Mikey and Charlie." And then at one point, they're like, "I can't believe I'm talking to you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know people listen. It's just we're in a room with like not five. How many of us are 6 people? I don't know. who's
Yeah, it was good that you corrected from 5 to 6. That was important. No, I'm constantly running into people, as I've said, that are listening to the podcast as they encounter me.
It's a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Just this morning on the way into work, I was waiting at the light, and a guy was like, "Oh, hey, I'm listening to the podcast right now." And kind of put his phone. I was like, "Oh, cool, man!" And he literally turned and then walked away, and then just stood at the faced away from me, and stood waiting to cross the street.
I wanted to talk to him.
I was like, "Oh, hey, that's good." And he was like, and literally walked away from me.
He wanted to, he didn't want to talk to you. He just wanted to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, he would rather listen to you guys than on a phone than talk to me.
Okay, this reminds me of something that happened to me years and years ago. I got on a flight, and it was some flight, I don't know which airline it was, one of those airlines that was showing
That's important to know.
the late
You
night show.
got my,
One of those airlines that was showing
that's important to know.
the
Sorry,
late night
you,
show.
You got on my
That's
case about
fair.
5 to 6.
Yeah.
But please figure
Well,
out which airplane you were on.
Okay, I guess you know what? I deserve that. I deserve that. Okay, I deserve that, and I won't. I won't retaliate. Won't go after anything about you. I
I'm
apologize.
looking at my denim jacket. I
Yeah,
know.
I just it's
corduroy.
horrific. Yeah,
It's corduroy.
no, it's awful. Anyway, you could fix that refrigerator for me when you get a chance. I mean, just dress up a little bit for
Oh,
work.
come on.
But anyway, I got on a plane. We started
What was the
flying.
airline?
Airlines, I believe. No, and the little monitors where people are watching television, And the person who was sitting across the aisle and ahead of me had their monitor on, and the plane takes off, and they get service, and they start watching my late night show. Of course, it's silent because I have headphones on. And I can see it through my mannerisms that I'm coming out, I'm greeting the crowd, and then I can see through my mannerisms that I'm doing the setup to the first joke. And then I do the first joke, and the guy laughs, and he turns to me, and he gives me a thumbs up. And I'm like, oh, this is cool.
That's
and then
amazing.
I start to think, I just taped this. Like, I just taped this a couple of hours ago. What's the second joke? You know, I'm trying to think. I know the first one was good. I can't remember what the second joke was. And I see myself gesturing, and then I deliver it, and the guy doesn't laugh and turns to me and does that. And just as he did it, I remembered, oh, right, the pineapple. Oh, yeah, that wasn't good. And I'm like, shit. Am I going to be getting a blow-by-blow critique of the show as I watch myself in silence to this guy who's wearing a headset? It was hilarious.
Oh my god!
Never forgot that. Second joke. And I was like, ah! You know what I love, Sona?
What?
Football season.
Hell yeah!
Football season is pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer and carbs than premium regular beer. Right, the pineapple joke. Oh. I don't remember what the joke was, but anyway, these things happen. It's very strange. But yes, Sona, you encountered some people in a library. Were you taking the kids there?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you get a book while you were there?
I sometimes read.
Okay.
I'm not an avid reader.
You used to make fun of me for reading all the time.
The books you read are enormous, and they're so how many books about Lyndon Johnson do you have to read?
You have to read all the ones by Caro.
Well,
and then there are other books by Lyndon Johnson. But you know, it's not just Lyndon Johnson. It's American history.
I know.
But then, of course, you got to know your French history. You've got to know what, about World War I and World War II. Then you got to learn more about World War I and World War II. And then you got to learn more about World War II and World War I. It doesn't stop. And Stalin's always up to no good. So you got to read about him.
What's going to happen this week?
Yeah. So
there's just so many. I read some books, but you just constantly read. Like, just give it a rest. Constantly read. Like, just give it a rest.
Yeah. Give reading a rest.
Yeah. Hey,
you know how to read. We get it.
You know, it'd be great if you did a PSA. Hey, kids, give reading a rest. And Sona says, give reading a rest.
Turn on the TV.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yo. Which one's that again? Oh. Okay. Ah. Huh. Oh boy. Okay, let's try. Let's try. No. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, wait a second. So, import vector white grok API key. No, it's not. Why? Okay, hold on a second. Okay. Okay, let's try again. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Right.
Let's get that done.
entertainment there was this legacy business, and you're seeing it change now as Silicon Valley comes in.
Yep.
The ethos of legacy, entertainment is we've created this incredibly eccentric business where and you need an agent and a manager and a lawyer, and they're going to take about 60% of what you pay, but without them, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
And you join the studio, and the studio will give you a deal, and you'll sit in your room.
Right.
It's the most inefficient way. Silicon Valley walked in, in the way that Elon Musk walked into Twitter and went how many people work here? 10,000. Make it 2.
Right.
So now that Apple and Amazon, they go in and they go, writer's room. Wait, you've got 14 writers and they're with you from start to finish on the production. Well, it's important for the writers to be invested. And then also we're showing them how they're on the page, because it's different about the page to the screen. They've got to understand how that works and understand how we interact with the props. And they can have 3 weeks and it's got to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
And you can have 4 of them.
Right.
They're changing the ethos into this. They're changing us from an analog business to a digital business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the schism, the earthquake that's been going through it. I can't function like that.
Yeah.
My writers, what?
Well, also it's across the business. Many comedy writers, my vintage or younger, have trouble getting work now.
हाँ
डैडी 4 बजने के बाद बाहर जाने वाले हैं।
हाँ
तो तुम्हें जाना तभी जाकर के
4 बजे मेरे पास मीटिंग है यहाँ पर न्यूज़ तुम्हें
घर पे
हाँ
है ना,
हाँ
क्योंकि सामने की टीचर आएगी।
ठीक
Right.
And it's
these companies
it's changing radically. It's changing.
They don't believe in institutional knowledge,
right?
That allows people to grow and get better and create more. What they believe now is the auteur system, which has always sort of existed within film and TV. And then this idea of ruthlessly efficient content factories,
right,
where what matters is the real estate and not the individual creative.
I think the problem, if I had to guess, would be that you can't explain what happens in a writer's room to anybody who hasn't been in one.
Imagine a coffee clutch with a lot of Holocaust jokes.
Yeah. But I remember
that's a writer's room.
I remember on when I was on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And it was fairly early days on The Simpsons. There was a lot of excitement, and a German film company came. This documentary film crew came from Germany, and the director wanted to capture the Simpsons writing room in action. So I'm sitting there with Swartzwelder and Jeff Martin, Myers, and
the legends,
all these amazing people.
Yeah,
I'm sitting in this room, and they set up these cameras there, and he had the lens around his neck, and he's watching us. And what he saw was a bunch of guys saying, "All right, well, we need a into the scene," and it should be, and then it would be, Al Jean would be like, it should probably be Marge that takes us out, and be like, okay, and then this, and John Beatty would go, what if? No, and long silences, and the guy, and you could hear the equipment, and then at one point the guy just went, "Can something happen?" And I'm like, this is writing. It's nice in the old days, if you wanted a cinematic experience, you had to go to the movie. Just went, "Can something happen?" And I'm like, this is writing. It's not the old days, if you wanted a cinematic experience, you had to go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
With Samsung out there guaranteed.
Yeah. No.
Oh, great. Auto game mode to
play. Go to Team Coco Podcast on Instagram, leave a comment, and let us know more. We might pick one of your gigs.
क्या हुआ?
Wire to you.
ठीक. Charge हो गया ना. Why is this not working? Oh my God.
गिरा दोगे मुझे पीछे
नहीं अम्मा मैं मालूम है क्या कर रहा हूँ
कभी टाइम मिले ना ये आईडी निकाल दो आईडी बना दो किसी से
वो उसको तो दूसरा सिस्टम ही डालता हूँ तो oh my god okay right right okay here you go क्या
लैपटॉप इतना स्लो है
कितना तो एक क्रोम वाला हाँ एक सेकंड लगता होता है मैं तुम्हें अपडेट करूंगा
I'll call them round to distinguish. I'm thinking of the word game as the entire process, and each round is one individual sequence of rounds where they bet $1 each time. Each round is independent. They're just a sequence of independent bets, $1 each time. And let's assume that P equals the probability that A wins a certain round. So for any particular round, the probability is P that A wins, and it's 1 minus P that B wins. And often in this class, we'll abbreviate 1 minus P to Q. So Q is the probability that B wins a round. P is the probability that A wins a round. Then they keep repeating that, either forever or until one of them goes broke. Okay, so that's the setup. And the problem is to find what's the probability that A wins the entire game. That is that A wins all the money and B goes bankrupt. Okay, so that's the problem. So find the probability that A wins the entire game. So B is ruined, we would say. Or we could ask the other question: what's the probability that A gets ruined? But of course, if we can do one of those problems, we can do the other one in the same way. Okay. I'll put ruined in quotes. Ruined means bankruptcy. Now, we need to assume, what the initial conditions, assuming that A starts with $I, and B starts with N minus $I. I chose the numbers. I chose the notation this way just so that I just makes me think of an integer because I'm assuming integer dollars going back and forth. And I called B's initial N minus I because then the total is capital N dollars. So this is a closed system, right? No money is coming in or going out. So there's basically N dollars on the table. They're just going back and forth until one player has all of the capital N dollars. That's the total amount of wealth sitting on the table, right? That's being redistributed back and forth. Okay, so that's the setup of the problem. And so this problem is important for several reasons. One is just something that it's a pretty natural problem that comes up not only in gambling, but in other cases where you have a repeated not up of the N dollars on the table. They're just no middle for. I chose the numbers. I chose the
Whenever people say, I don't want to give it away, it means they don't know yet. Based algorithm. Harry Warner or something walked past the writers, the area on the lot, and he didn't hear typewriters going. And he was like, I better hit typewriters because those guys are getting paid. Well, a lot of writing is sitting and thinking and agonizing and eating a donut. And then there's this process.
People don't realize too that the idea, like you're diagramming stories, like in some ways it looks like a math problem. Like you're creating these kinds of tranches of A, B, and C storylines and drawing lines and creating arcs. And it really is a little bit of like beautiful mind craziness. Like you look at it and go, none of this seems to, but everybody's, you're putting the Jenga pieces together.
Yeah.
And then in the edit later, the mistakes that you made with your original instinct can get corrected or shaved off. You know what was the biggest change for me in content creation was the invention of the Avid. When we stopped editing on those in the online rooms, where like if you fucked up, you had to go back to the beginning, and you could start to manipulate things digitally in space. It was revelatory,
right?
Because it was how more your mind works. The technology of it had not caught up with the way that you spatially kind of see structure or plot or character or those things. When you had a tool that would allow you to work more in sync with how you think,
right?
That was because in the early days at MTV, I can remember we would do these bits, these parodies, and like get the little razor and cut the thing and put it through and tape it up and run it through again. Like it was.
You feel like Charlie Chaplin on the set of The Gold Rush.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
we saw that transition.
I've always liked working with young people. Because I'm a creep.
You don't have to pay them; they're still in school. They'll work for credit. Oh, this will help me.
But no, there's like I'm very delighted by when I see young comedic talent that really makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I feel better. There's this cliche that people in our stage are supposed to be looking at, young comedians and going, I don't think that's funny. Why in my day? And I've never felt that way. I feel like shit. Like the other night at the Emmys, one of the Emmys parties, I ran into the writers that do Hacks, and I just stopped and said, you're doing such superb work. And you started out with a great show, and then the other seasons each one's better than the previous one. I don't know how you're doing it, but I left feeling energized and better about things because I'm always happy when young people are killing it, because I think, civilization's going to be okay. And I'm putting that all on the writers that have.
But it reminds me of sort of the way that they look at athletics. Like when people go, you can't compare the football players of today to the legends. And you're like, right, the football players of today, like mediocre ones, would blow their fucking doors off.
Yeah.
Dick Butkus was great. These guys are running a 3.240. Like he wouldn't even know that they had gone past him. And I look at that sometimes with the content now that's being created by those young comics and all that. And I'm just like, they've leveled us up.
Yeah.
Like they really have. Like, they're, people like to talk about, back in the old days, we really, that comedy was great. And you're like, well, it was kind of flat-footed and racist. But other than that, you're right.
Right.
No, I'm always impressed by, and especially like in the stand-up world, like the level that young comics come into it, and it's shocking. Like it's one of those things. Like I see as my kids went through the college process, I was like, I wouldn't be able to get into college today. Like it
totally
makes me feel that way about the comedy clubs. Like, I would have to end up really being a bouncer.
I am. You'd be a great bouncer. You better leave. What are you gonna do about it?
Nobody expects for you to hit them. Nobody expects for you to hit them low. Nobody expects that. You go right at the knee.
I think, you know what? I would love a comedy club where you and I are the bouncers. They're different sizes and both equally ineffectual. I'll hit you high and you won't feel it. And I'll hit you low and you won't feel it.
Who are the bouncers? It's Ren and Stimpy. They'll take care of it. No problem.
Hello, it's Conan
The podcast.
Yeah, it's a juggernaut. Do you know what juggernaut is?
Yes, I know what a juggernaut.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, but yeah.
Unstoppable.
Is it big?
I don't know.
We talking to microphones? I'm not just
massive.
listening.
It's
I
massive.
got stopped at the library the other day, and the
Wait
girl.
a minute. You were in a
Yeah.
library?
Okay.
Were you looking for directions? Where's
I've got pastries for both of us.
Where's the dispensary?
Yeah.
I've got pastries for both of us. Are you serious? One day is fine. I had my medicine. It's a good one. I've got
I'm gonna take these things. Try that.
Look at that. Just match you.
Huh? What do you think, man?
You got the best. You know what?
I mean, I'll keep coming up.
Fuck these things. Let's take these off. Sona, do it.
Oh, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
too
do it,
scared.
do it,
I'm
do
too
it.
scared. Okay.
No, put it back. Put it back. They're burning. Hey, check me on this. Who's got better hair than this man? You're just, you know, the two of you.
No, you.
No. Mine is more of a caricature. You have, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And my hair heroes, you're one of them. The other was Jack Lord in Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, yes.
Remember he had that big sweep?
Very nice.
And
yeah.
then my heart was crushed because I found out on this podcast. Remember who we were talking to? Who did a scene with him? Who was a child actor at the time? Was it Kurt Russell?
Who himself has amazing hair.
Yeah, who himself has amazing hair. But Kurt Russell's talking to me. Went, yeah, I was a kid actor, and I did a Hawaii Five-0, and they were doing my shot, so the camera wasn't on Jack Lord, and he took his hair off. And I said, what do you mean he took his hair off? And he said, well, you know, it was a piece. And I went, I didn't know it was a piece. Well, did you know?
Oh, no. I'm looking at you now. We're talking hair, and I'm thinking my favorite haircut was shaved head, bald.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm looking at your head. And I said, this man would be wonderful. Bald head.
Should I go for it?
Have you ever
Never
thought
had
about
a
it? You've
never had a shaved
it?
head. Never had a shaved
It's
head.
really nice. Have you guys? None of you guys?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, you were a trouble skinhead for a while.
It also
He had
wasn't
really
my
weird-
choice. My friends did the thing where
Oh.
they shaved my head.
But
Tattooed
did
a dick on his
did you
face.
like it? Finally, did you get into it?
You know what?
There's
I will
some-
say I did like it. It's you feel so like clean and
Yeah, well,
smooth.
it's the forehead, but up here, and then you get the shark feeling.
Yes.
It feels like the shark skin.
Yeah.
And you get a little velvet
Yeah.
thing.
This is
And-
erotic.
Oh, it is. It
Cat's
is.
tongue,
And
a little
the
bit of
way-
a cat's
The way
tongue.
water hits on there and stays in there
But
when you
also,
take a shower.
the no fuss, no muss. I mean, I'm 6
Oh.
hours every morning with my hair
There you
team.
go.
You know, they're using curlers, they're injecting.
Oh wow! This
various-
is after 6 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it just, well, then I was in a terrible accident. My hair saved my life, but it
Would
shattered.
you,
So I don't think I would shave my head because it's such a part of my identity. I've been pretty much reduced to I am a Woody Woodpecker cartoon, you know, I'm not even a person anymore. I'm a cartoon character.
I was going to ask you, did you and now I'm saying this is a silly question because I'm imagining, of course you did, but maybe I'm wrong. Did you put product in your hair and work that?
Yeah.
That,
You know,
that thing?
Jesus, look at that. Zeus.
I know.
Zeus is in the house.
Look at that volume.
Yeah, no,
How do
you have
do
no
it?
idea. I did
What was your product?
there was
Prel?
okay, I'll tell you exactly
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
I got into rockabilly. That was my first love, rockabilly music. And I would play the old, Burnett Brothers, and I grew the sideburns, and I realized my hair.
Oh my God.
First
Oh, you must have. Oh, of
piled it up,
course.
and I used stuff that a friend of mine used 10X, and there was this stuff they made called 10X, and you'd put it in your hair, and then you could comb it up.
Yeah.
And I was doing this in the 80s. Not a lot of other people were doing it. And then I got a job on The Simpsons. I remember I met The Simpsons, and I'm a writer, producer, and I have these sideburns, Eisenhower jacket with the collar flipped up, new hair. And I'd walk in, the writers would be like, what are you doing? This isn't a production of Grease. Want to watch your favorite TV shows and movies on a TV whose clarity, color, and contrast really shines through? You need Samsung OLED.
Yeah.
No, it's not some Swedish monster that shines through. You need Samsung OLED.
Yeah.
No, it's not some sweet monster. It's OLED. Let Samsung OLED immerse you with unbelievable details and picture quality. Their AI-powered processor upscales your favorite movies and shows in brilliant 4K resolution, so even old content looks amazing. But the OLED S95. Yeah, I have to wear sunglasses sometimes when I watch TV. But the OLED S95D has OLED glare-free technology, so you can watch with almost no glare. You know, I'm a big gamer. I love me games.
Yeah.
I love Sazzle Busters, Cubix Ring, Mindbinders. I love playing Corzel Sizzle.
Corzel Sizzle.
Oh, I'm really good at that one. I got to level 9. I visited the planet of Jabadon Gabali. That's why I'm excited that the Samsung OLED's motion accelerator delivers ultra smooth 144 hertz motion, and the AI auto game mode tailors your game settings to its genre. My video game skills have never looked better. Hertz motion and the AI auto game mode tailors your game settings to its genre. My video game skills have never looked better. Experience TV the way it's meant to be seen with Samsung OLED. Visit Samsung.com/OLED to learn more. Upscaling utilizes AI-based algorithms. Viewing experience may vary according to types of content and format. We're writing The Simpsons. I'm like, hey, man, but I don't know what it was. I was, that's what I wanted to do. And so my first big magazine cover was Rolling Stone, and they put me on the cover of Rolling Stone. And this guy had this idea, which is he took my hair and then he added these extensions and we blew it way out. And it's one of my favorite. I've seen it.
Oh
like
my God.
in an airport where they just put Rolling Stone covers up, but mine was one of them. And the hair, it's like 50 pounds of hair in a giant wave on my head, and it looks absolutely insane. But I was like, in my mind, even though that's a joke, that's what I really wanted it to be, and still do, you know.
Well, and you must do that.
I do it sometimes, and my wife was like, "Can't we go?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I need more mayonnaise for my quaff.
How about a ducktail?
Never did the ducktail.
You never did it.
No.
That's kind of classic rockabilly.
I know. I didn't do the ducktail.
Yeah.
But I just got lost in all that craziness. I don't know. It comes down to this for me. I think there's a lot we do that's compulsion that I can't even, you know. When people tell their story, they act like they made choices and they forged who they are. And more, I think, I don't know. Yeah. My life is a bunch of synaptic misfires. And now here I am. I'm you know, the hair, the choice of so many things.
That's very dudist.
No, but it is.
I mean it. I mean,
I say
It's
misfires,
good.
meaning I have I don't know. It sounds absurd to me to say I made any of this happen. I didn't make any of this happen. And I'm here talking to you, and I don't know. You're one of my all-time favorite actors, people, and you're here talking to me. I didn't make this happen. This just happened, and I couldn't be happier.
There's this guy Sapolsky, who's saying there's no such thing as willpower. That's you're not in control at all from the very, the circumstances you come out of. I kind of feel mixed about that.
You feel? Yeah, I do. Because it maybe lets us off the hook too much.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because then anyone could say, yeah, I just murdered 8 people and left their bodies by the roadside. But that's just what I did.
Yeah,
you know, you're like, no.
Well, yeah, and he's big on crime. All those people in jail who we say you're bad. He's saying it's the circumstances.
Yeah, a lot of times
from
that's
the
true.
very, very beginning of all how it turns out.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of. Don't you feel life is so parasitical? You know, there's not one way, one thing. I think it's kind of both. You know, maybe.
Then he spotted an older couple stranded on the side of a mountain. Thing is, though, he didn't want to put too much weight in the chopper since the ground was unstable. So he just took the woman and planned to come back for his son and the man. But down the aisle. But then, in an entertainment quickie, we had Sydney Sweeney in the news. She's talking about how terrifying the paparazzi have gotten. They're doing a profile for Glamour that was published today, and she was talking about getting stalked for bikini photos. Right in it, she targeting her house, wanting to be an actor since she was a kid, but later diving into a discussion around her body. But Sydney sharing information that I imagine is going to make Thanksgiving weird, talking about how her grandparents say she has, quote, the best tits in Hollywood. Also saying that a lot of her fans have said that she's made them feel more confident in their own bodies and embracing their sexuality. Then also noting that comes with a price. The recounting situation where paparazzi showed up at her new home in Florida and just started yelling at her family outside, with them reportedly saying, if you tell her to just come outside in a bikini, I'll take pictures and Low. The city then also hitting back at people online, suggesting that she called the paparazzi herself, saying, "Why would I call the paparazzi to take pictures of me at my own house when my baby cousins and family are there and I'm in my backyard? Why would I ever want that?" And from there, explaining how these photographers showed up at 8 a.m. in kayaks and stayed almost the entire day hiding behind bushes. And yeah, I very much believe Sweeney here that she's not calling the paparazzi for this. I mean, she is a woman that she trends on X for 24 to 36 hours every single time she posts a bikini photo on Instagram. She seems perfectly capable of handling the means of production. But also with this, Sydney saying it's not just about privacy, but security as well. Telling Glamour I should be able to be in my home and feel comfortable and safe. When those photos go out, then my actual safety is at risk. Everyone knows where I am. Now there's boats that go by and I literally hear them say, "This is Sydney Sweeney's house." It becomes a star tour in my front yard. And I know there are always people with this sort of situation. They go, it's the price of fame. But I mean, it really feels like there is a good chunk of an entire industry that's just based around monetizing stalking as long as you have a camera. But then to take a quick from the news, most people have experienced the same stressful feeling all your life and live for you, not your death. Then in some quick news, it appears that justice is speeding up in the case of Matthew Perry charges of his own. But then if you have ever ordered food through Uber Eats, listen up, because anytime you order a trip through Uber Rides, you might be putting your life in danger with very little recourse. And we know that now because of what happened to John and Georgia McGinty, right? You likely have never heard of these people because they're just some couple in their 50s who called an Uber back in 2022 to take them home from dinner. But during that trip, their driver ran a red light and T-boned, which yes, wrecked the vehicle, but more importantly, it fucked up John and Georgia. John fractured his sternum, left arm, and wrist. That's bananas. And then we've neo-Nazis in the news, but today it's because dozens have now been taken off the streets of California. And specifically, all of this deals with a white supremacist gang known as the SFV, or San Fernando Valley Peckerwoods. It's kind of like a local chapter of another group that you may have heard of, the Aryan Brotherhood, which has been described as the nation's oldest major white supremacist prison gang and a national crime syndicate. But with that, the gang's also associated with the Mexican Mafia prison gang, which is also one of the deadliest and most powerful gangs in the California prison system. But in any case, 68 people belonging to or associated with the Peckerwoods have been indicted on federal charges, with at least 42 of them arrested so far. And Attorney General Merrick Garland calling this takedown a decisive blow and what the actual sentences are. But then, I love betting, but some of you degenerates are crazy. And I say that because elections betting is about to get a whole lot wilder. I mean, we're talking $100 million wilder. But also with that comes concerns that all this cash could upend the electorate. And so to explain, we got to back up to last June, because that's when a trading platform called Kalshi EX submitted an application to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, right, the CFTC, with them asking to allow it to run bets on which party will control either chamber of Congress, and specifically proposing to allow, quote, certain established investors to stake up to $100 million on those bets, with the goal there being to create this new market that allows big businesses and traders to hedge any political risks they could be faced with based on the future trajectory of Washington. But the CFTC said no dice, and they denied Kalshi's request. And its chair, Harris's proposal threatened to reduce key facets of the democratic process to a source of revenue for some. Right? And so with that, Kalshi sued. And last month, the judge sided with the company. That was followed by the CFTC requesting an emergency halt as it prepped an appeal. But yesterday, the federal appeals court put an end to it, with it denying the CFTC's motion and allowing election betting to take off, with the judges there ruling that the agency's concerns about election integrity are, quote, understandable, but arguing that the regulators had not substantiated their claims that any harms are likely to materialize. But also, the decision to address those understandable concerns, because the CFTC has voiced a number of concerns about how this will impact election integrity, arguing that political campaigns or proxies working on their behalf could encourage supporters to bet on the outcome of the election and influence voters' decisions. Or perhaps foreign investors could skirt around Kalshi trading restrictions and manipulate the market or sway voters in the pursuit of profit. And that's said to be especially worrisome because the CFTC has said that because it lacks adequate staff and resources, the agency just simply isn't prepared to monitor this new political market, which is also why you had a number of watchdog groups and Democratic lawmakers concerned about this work. Like Senator Jeff Merkley, for example, issued a statement saying, "When we reduce our democracy to a horse race for the ultra-rich and huge corporations to bet on, we demolish the integrity of our democratic process and put corporate profits over people." This ruling comes almost 30 days before one of the most consequential in the nation's history and opens the door to this terrifying practice. And with all that said, right, this is not the end of the saga. Right, well, Kalshi is now allowed to move forward with its plans. It's been reported that the CFTC is continuing its appeal because this latest ruling was just about whether Kalshi can start accepting bets while the case plays out in court. But for now, we're going to have to wait to see what comes from all of that. And in the meantime, I'd love to know your thoughts here. But then, taking a quick break from the news, I really, truly, your dog will be happy you did. But then, in huge political and legal news, several stunning new pieces of evidence just got revealed in a court filing made public yesterday. Right, and that because the filing was for the criminal case against Trump's efforts to overturn the election. Right, and this 165-page legal brief, which was filed by Special Counsel Jack Smith, is massively significant because it represents the single most comprehensive look at the evidence prosecutors have collected in their nearly 2-year-long investigation. Now, that said, much of the information outlined here was already made public, but there are several new pieces of evidence. And as we've seen the Washington Post explain, it describes in more extensive detail than before how many people, including Vice President Pence, party and state leaders, his own campaign lawyers, and others told Trump there was no election stolen, and how Trump waged a campaign to overturn the result. Also, on that, this filing is super because it's designed to show that Trump can still face trial for his efforts to subvert the election, even though the Supreme Court issued its ruling granting presidents sweeping immunity for official acts taken in office. With the goal of this brief being to help the judge overseeing the case determine how much of the indictment against Trump can still go forward. With specifically prosecutors arguing that Trump is not immune from prosecution because his attempt to remain in power did not involve official conduct, but was a private criminal effort taken outside his capacity as president. So Trump was actually acting in his capacity as a candidate trying to benefit his own campaign, rather than as president exercising his official duties. But Smith writing, although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one.
Lee Mong-song is a nut. He's like, we will make Samsung into this monster. He does not care about people. He does not care about business. He wants to take it to the limit. The only thing.
There's no fucking way you can pay for the scale of clusters that are being planned to be built next year for OpenAI unless they raise like 50.
Or like, you got to like power the homes at night. Here, I guess it's like theoretically possible to like figure out, only like run the clusters in the day or something.
Absolutely not. That
really?
That's not possible.
Because it's so expensive to have these GPUs?
Yeah, so like when you look at the power cost of a large cluster, it's trivial and to some extent, right? Like, like the meme that like, oh, you can't build a data center in Europe or East Asia because the power is expensive, that's not really relevant. What's the or power is so cheap in China and the US, that's where the only places you can build data centers. That's not.
It's December again. The year has gone by so fast. Where did all the time go? So I think we should spend some time and look back at the Asianometry YouTube channel in 2023. Popular video. For the past 3 weeks, I was in the United States and Japan having conversations. I did something similar 6 months ago, and now here I am, back at it again. We're coming up on the second anniversary of ChatGPT and the beginning of the modern AI boom. History is being made here, and I wanted to dive into the heart of it. It was also another excuse to share some travel pics. In this video, a few thoughts and observations, hastily written and edited in a plane. This video is brought to you by the Asianometry Patreon. It's one of the better ways to support the channel, blah, 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 early access. Thanks, and on the show. The original reason for my trip was a semiconductor design conference called Hot Chips. Hot Chips is a humble conference held at Stanford. Should be held at Berkeley, but whatever. It's not like a traditional conference per se, but rather a series of presentations in an auditorium. You can attend either via video or in person. I chose to go in person for some reason. As it turns out, I did not actually watch many of the presentations in person. I ended up having many one-on-one conversations with individuals, thanks to those who recognized me and stopped me to say hi, or just fell asleep thanks to jet lag. If you want an excellent overview and very opinionated stack ranking of the presentations, I direct you to the Substack Irrational Analysis. This is a newsletter, but it is written by an individual in the chip design industry who who I know personally. You want opinions? Oh boy, they have opinions. My general takeaway? Meta and Tesla are making good progress in designing cheap ASICs for very specific AI applications. They do exactly what they do and are super lean. Also, there's a new optical packaging technology out there called co-packaging optics, or CPO, which is probably the future of how we send data between different chips. Things like transceivers are probably a declining technology now. The big headlining companies like E and OpenAI did not present much new things, but of course, you probably should have not expected as such. In my last video about the AI boom, the big question I was thinking about was whether or not there were LLM-based applications out there making money. The financial issue of finding a return for all the billions being spent on infrastructure was so elegantly presented in an analysis written by Sequoia's David Kahn titled The $600 Billion Question. I tried to reach out to Mr. David, but he never responded to email. David, I'd love to say hi next time I'm in town. Anyway, in that video, I also talked about how people in the industry were looking at Microsoft's big upcoming OpenAI-powered Copilot products. So where are we now? So far, the answer is a bit mixed. To me, it is apparent that Copilot has not set the world on fire. Revenue-wise, my uneducated guess is that all the Microsoft Copilots are probably making somewhere like $1 billion annualized. For Microsoft, that is not good enough, but they're not giving up. They recently scheduled a future rebranding of the product, and people are already starting to make jokes about it. So it's been 2 years since, and we don't yet have a challenger revenue-wise to ChatGPT. Yet at the same time, we definitely have companies out there making money, up to tens of millions of dollars of revenue even. Who are the largest companies in the industry other than ChatGPT and OpenAI? Revenue-wise, it's probably 11 Labs out in New York City. They do voice generation stuff and is probably making 100 million or so in revenue. But if you're looking at it in terms of usage, that's probably Character.ai, the chatbot company that recently licensed its models and I guess quote-unquote sold part of its team, including its co-founder, over to Google. Usage at the company seems to be improved. The problem is that their core users are teenagers with no money, and running AI models is expensive. These costs are probably why they laid people off recently. There are plenty of startups with strong product market fit. The strongest fits are the ones that leverage the LLM AI's core advantages rather than trying to swap out the quote-unquote human for AI, because everyone seems to acknowledge that it's not there yet. The most promising companies are the ones that help workers save time, especially when handling huge bunches of information, either in text or audio form. I think Google has it right when they show these demos of their Gemini AI parsing 5-page service agreements and the like. In this demo, they give Gemini 2 documents and ask questions about the content inside said documents. Seems right up the LLM's alley. Or Cursor AI, that text editor application that helps developers write better code. The LLM reads the code base or something. LLMs also seem to be quite good at doing your paperwork, admin tasks, or customer service / order taking. I am particularly struck by the idea of LLMs taking orders at drive-thrus. Not here yet, but feels like something the big fast food companies will eventually crack down the road. The story I have not heard too much about has been the ongoing price war in LLM API tokens. According to the DeepLearning.ai batch newsletter, the original GPT-4 API released in March 2023 cost about $36 per million tokens. As of this writing in September 2024, a million GPT-4o tokens cost about $4. So, over the past 17 months, API prices have seen 9 times reduction or 80% reduction per year. This trend appears to be due to improvements in software and how to better use existing resources rather than more advanced semiconductors. Most of it has occurred during the same generation of NVIDIA GPUs. This trend has made a few people cite Moore's Law. I can see the connection, sort of, but there's another silicon-related historical incident that I think. As of this writing in September 2024, a million GPT-4o tokens cost about $4. So, over the past 17 months, API prices have seen 9 times reduction or 80% reduction per year. This trend appears to be due to improvements in software and how to better use existing resources rather than more advanced semiconductors. Most of it has occurred during the same generation of NVIDIA GPUs. This trend has made a few people cite Moore's Law. I can see the connection, sort of. But there's another silicon-related historical incident that I think fits better. Bob Noyce at Fairchild Semiconductor. As Fairchild got better at producing transistors and integrated circuits, Bob Noyce cut prices on their planar transistors from $5 to 25 cents and ICs from $20 to $2. Such price cuts help make other products like transistor radios more affordable to the public. Will API price do the same here? I still have latent uncertainties about whether it is possible that a whole company can run on top of just a few bits of fine-tuning data and some AI APIs, but let the market handle that. The main issue with continued growth in the AI ecosystem is their quote-unquote intelligence. In other words, the foundation models that they all rely upon. It is widely acknowledged by people both inside and outside the industry that, though we have found a few good and somewhat profitable end-user applications, the GPT-4 foundation model and its cohorts are on the whole still very limited. Thus, we all turn to the next generation, or GPT-5. That is what literally everyone in the industry is talking about right now. I'm struck by how even people at other leading AI research labs talk about OpenAI like as if it were a black box. They're a silent force moving through the valley. So we all wait for OpenAI. $100 billion startups every move and word for clues. It's like as if we are in the IBM PC era again, when IBM defined the standard and all the PC clone makers are only following. Everyone is looking to IBM to tell us where to go next, that the next step is even possible. Of course, if we follow the historical metaphor to its conclusion, IBM was a king with no clothes, and other companies in the once IBM-defined standard needed to step up and take that step to move beyond them. But who will do that? There are a few companies trying new approaches to building without scaling, Sakana AI in Japan and Safe Superintelligence being two such startups raising money, but the Bay Area is quote-unquote scale pill, as they like to say it, and continuing the scaling will require immense financial and material resources, and only a few tech giants can afford that. From those tech giants, I hear that there are indications of strain, a growing realization that expenditure numbers people are throwing around are getting to be a little too much. But right now for these tech giants, it's a game of chicken. The giants need to spend tens of billions of dollars on this AI thing, at least for the next few years, because they think the costs of sitting it out and seeing someone else possibly take the crown are unacceptable. But who will be the last to stop? I visited on the week of NVIDIA earnings, so basically that week. They were the most important company. I got to visit the campus, ate a salad at their cafeteria. My God, I love salads. And bought a pair of NVIDIA socks from their gift shop. I will treasure them as I jog through Taipei. The current ranking in the AI chip industry is as follows. First, NVIDIA by a mile, then after that, AMD. That is basically it in terms of AI accelerators you can buy. NVIDIA's future dominance in this market, without any serious government intervention or meteors in Jensen Huang's house, is largely dependent on a few things. First, will one of the tech giants' AI chips emerge as a major player in the market? We should mention the Amazon AWS chips, but the Google TPU is the obvious thing to think about here. But in classic Google fashion, the TPU feels simultaneously impressive and underutilized. Despite being a majestic piece of technology and an incredible edge, it is also largely just seen as infrastructure. Google sees and treats other things they're doing, Google Cloud, Gemini, etc. Side note, I'm exploring to see if I can do a video on the history of the TPU. If you know anything about that, like if you used to work on that team and want to say hi, email me, john@asianometry.com. Second, we need one of the current chip startups to break out. This to me seems maybe not impossible, but at least unlikely. Perhaps it was because it was hot chips, but there seem to be literally dozens of fabless AI chip startups around. There was a guy at the show with a list of 55 plus such startups. Each of these AI chip startups has a shtick covering virtually the whole spectrum of the curve: specialization, power, performance, so on. The core issue for all these companies is that semiconductors are not like the ride-sharing or Uber for whatever go-go era. You can't rapidly spin up a website, get a bunch of people off the street, and scale. You need to design a chip, fab it over 5 to 6 months, and then somehow figure a way to sell it. Anything can happen in even just 6 months, but it looks like to me that many of these AI chip startups will fail. Maybe just 3 or 4 get sold at cost to an existing player as an acqui-hire. To avoid this fate, they need to work harder than they ever have before. At the time of my visit, the third most biggest talk of the town.
Okay, let's see. So, wait, what? It's working. It's working. Okay. Actually, one sec, wait.
from London. Near Canterbury is the lazy River Stour, where fishermen have gathered. And if fishing seems a dull sport, even a ridiculous sport to you, then 2.25 million people in Britain disagree with you. By far, it's the country's most popular pastime. A pastime that can cost up to £50 for equipment alone, and more for the hire of coaches that take anglers to competitions all over the country.
Donovan missed out on this last year, so he's hungry to get back.
Ouch. Sanvi? Sanvi? Hello.
Hello.
Did you come together?
Yes.
Did you pick up some school?
No, the Meena ma'am was also with us.
Ah, okay. What's this?
I bought pastries.
Ah, thank you. So, Sanvi, you're in Lasso Sushi.
Yeah, I'm saying for you. If I go back to lunch,
What we had. Oh, this was from the town center. I know this one.
do you like it?
I found this with two sweets.
And does that just want to look right?
The one which I like, actually, I saw it in you know, came to a party before. Yeah.
You like it down.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, I'm having lots of trouble with the search. Lots of trouble with the search.
I think you had fun playing Java.
Did you make next one?
I tried all my best not for it not to get dirty.
When you're doing something, just don't wear white coat. I think you put me right here. Okay, let's see. How do I do this? How do I do this? Okay. Imposter. Imposter. सनी कपड़े बदला एटलीस्ट चेंज जैकेट निकाला सानवी जंपर निकाला ओके ठीक ठीक Sure. Okay. The is working. The um okay, let's see. So we have where is this going?